Welcome back to Kaulig Nation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig racing, Dinger Nation, SVG Nation, and all things NASCAR. We've been away for a little bit. We're not even entirely sure if this live stream is working properly at the moment. Hopefully it is. If not, we will have a recording and put it up afterwards. But it's just been a wild, for me personally, been a wild 5 or 6 weeks that is just finally starting to calm down now. And I hate that, like, we're sitting here Saturday, 6 days removed from SVG's long run dominance at the Roval. And this is the first time we've had to speak about it or anything else that's really gone on. But between my schedule and Ryan's schedule, and to be completely upfront, we had to replace a vehicle, but we had to go through insurance to do it. And that was a nightmare. And I work split shift at my normal job. So I felt like all my time where I would normally do recording or editing in between my shifts was being chewed up between being a dad and dealing with insurance bullshit, and then having to go find a new, aka used vehicle. I'm thankful that process is done, man, and I'm happy to report supporting colleague. We went with Stellantis.
There we go. I love that. Now they need to pull through and actually turn it into a whole cup program.
I don't see that being an issue.
I don't either.
Chris Rice's
It's
favorite, Chris Rice's favorite thing to say on interviews now is to bring up OEM stuff. So he can't do one interview without bringing up OEM stuff, even if he's not prompted to do so.
Yeah, I did my homework this week. I did go back and listen to. I never get to listen to him live, but I went back and listened to him do his Wednesday hit. Yeah, nothing really exciting in that hit. It was talked about, of course, SVG dominating and trying to replicate that and how hard it is. And you're right. You're absolutely right. He unprompted, talked about support, and then I will say I give. I think it was actually Bianchi who's your favorite sports reporter in NASCAR right now, but I think he asked a really good question about what it takes to get tier one support, and I really actually appreciated Chris's response. He went into, he talked for 4 or 5 minutes on it, and obviously you have to perform well, and there are high expectations, and you have to kind of put the money up front to invest and become a good program to show the manufacturer that you're worthy of their time and effort. So, um, and then of course he was like, well, to make it so everybody has one, you need more. You need more key partners. And then he name dropped Dodge, and then he name dropped Honda, and he's like, it's the only way this works is if every team is a tier one team, and you only do that when you have more than three manufacturers. So while it was, I would say, slightly prompted, he gave a really insightful answer, and then started name dropping Dodge. Just like, yeah, all right, this is just the continuation of I think of their progression with that relationship. And well, I don't expect to hear anything in the short term. It's coming down the road.
Oh, for sure, a foregone conclusion at this point. And yeah, I heard the interview too, and well, it was maybe a little bit prompted. It wasn't prompted to be as detailed as he was on it, that's for sure. And could be wrong, but towards the earlier part of that interview, I believe he offered up that, like, Colleague is up to having 20 of their own engineers now, which is like, that's more than 3 times what they had at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. I actually forgot about that, but he just kind of threw that in there about, of course, people. That's and I've said this for 6 months before when we were debating, what the situation was at the end of last year. Are they hiring more people? Well, they're about a year behind, but I'm glad to hear that they've made that commitment. And you're right, doubling, tripling, maybe even quadrupling their investment in terms of engineer support. It might not show immediate returns, but you're at least setting yourself up and putting yourself in a position to find some speed and be successful. So, I liked what I heard. I also heard some interesting conversations about Ty Dillon potentially coming back for another year, which I think at one point not too long ago we were kind of okay with. Now that performance has dipped a little bit, but I thought that ship had sailed, and Also, now we're hearing that might be coming back
I mean,
with
yeah, he
more
spoke positive of
financial.
it, but he also said the bit there. Oh, sorry, just so everyone's aware, I'm having connection issues at the moment, and if I talk over Ryan at any point, it's not intentional. I would never do that. Um, it's he had froze on my end. I'm sure he was just fine for all of you. Um, yeah, there was Ty Dillon talk. I still don't know how much I buy into it because it's sounds like it hinges on another partner signing off and partner being sponsor, I would assume, unless the partner is Richard Childers and it's that same partner they've been waiting for months now. Who knows? I'm a believe it when I see it guy at this point for that deal.
Oh, 100%. And it's just interesting again because he continues to do this. Oh, we should have a decision in the next week or two. I would be surprised if they have a decision in the next week or two. And I just assumed they meant sponsors, and I'm sure that's a big key part of it. But also, you're right. Perhaps Richard Childress signing off on a little bit of support, whatever that might look like, could also play a part in it as well. But one interesting fact about that, just I know we talk about a few different things, but that article that came out about Seabest that hit the Athletic a couple weeks ago, and how they jumped they jumped all in this year. They did 20 races, I think, was what they ended up doing for the season, and they were really heavily invested, and they're happy with their return. But they definitely admitted that they would be scaling back to the amount of races so they could better support their activation they sponsor. So, when we sit here and say, why isn't Ty Dillon signed? I think a big part of that is, while I fully believe Seabest will be back on that car, them cutting back the amount of races definitely is a big reason we haven't gotten that full confirmation yet.
Yeah, money talks at the end of the day. Did they say how much they were cutting back?
They didn't give an exact number, no, so that's a little unfortunate. I mean, it sounded like they were still going to be a pretty big partner. This is a little bit of speculation, but I'm still guessing they're going to be in that 10 to 12 range, if I had to guess, just not the half season plus they did this year. Because
I
they
wonder if
did
the
say they
other
wanted to
one.
focus on their region. So like the
I wonder if the other
southeast,
one's the insurance
Georgia.
company there that we heard about.
Oh yeah, I mean, shit, I forgot all about that, Sean. I mean, we heard
Yeah,
that one. I
so
mean, maybe you heard it more than once, but I heard it once and then
a couple
never
months
again.
ago.
So
Yeah, we'll see what comes of that. It's so weird because like we don't have any official truck announcements yet, and something you said a couple of weeks ago kind of alluded to they might not do anything before the end of the season, and no word of a Kaulig fan day this year, by the way, either. It just, despite all the hype around the team right now and the expanding and the deal with Ram, seems like an odd time to not be doing a Kaulig fan day. Not to mention Matt Kaulig or Chris Rice becoming the CEO. But as we've found out since, it's more of a almost a way to surpass the waiting game when making big decisions on sponsors and drivers and stuff. Just allows Chris to go ahead and do that as basically Matt's eyes and ears, rather than be okay. Well, Matt couldn't make this, so now we need to relay everything back to Matt, and then we'll make a decision on it in a few days. There can be some decisions made a little quicker now, but with everything going on, man, find it weird. There's no Colic fan day.
to be fair though, I haven't heard a lot of any teams really having a big fan day towards the end of the year this year. So I don't know what the deal is, because normally you see the other organizations having something. So I don't know. You're right. I mean, this is where time flies. It's middle October already. About this time a couple of years ago is when they made that announcement AJ was coming back, and they signed Chandler Smith. And we not only have they not made any announcements of having a fan day, we don't even have a potential date, and this is usually about the time that they do it. So certainly seems like it's not going to happen this year, or at least at the end of this year. But I'm sure they might put something together maybe before the start of next year. But I have to give them a little grace that they are very busy trying to put all these ducks in a row here, and they might just not have the bandwidth to try to organize something with like that at the moment. But maybe you could rely. Am surprised though with their partnership with Ram that Ram hasn't done anything or announced more their brand, and because you're right, this was something we heard about. I mean, it's been pushing 2 months now that we heard this deal, and I was expecting a little bit more fanfare from the manufacturer to try to keep some momentum going, and it's kind of just died off.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the end result of it will be. I thought we would have more by now. It sounds like Chris Rice thought we would have more by now, but clearly Ram has something they're sitting on. I know the show's for one thing, but I don't think we need to tie everything into the show. I hope that's not what they're doing. That would be disappointing, to say the least.
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think so. I truly don't. I mean, it sounds like they have a partial driver lineup already in place. Um, but again, when you're dealing with a new manufacturer and you're dealing with drivers coming from another manufacturer, you kind of walk in a line, especially if they hire from outside. I mean, obviously, we believe Brendan Queen. He's not really connected with any team or manufacturer at this point in his ARCA career. Daniel Dye is in house. So, I mean, I guess there's a couple that you can feel comfortable with maybe trying to relay an announcement. But if they're pulling anybody from outside of, that has a contract with another program, it wouldn't be the worst to wait until maybe their season's over, or maybe you got a driver like a Daniel Hemrick that's still in the playoffs for Bill McAnally, right? Maybe you don't want to throw any extra, you know, news cycle on that situation until he's been eliminated from the playoffs before making an announcement. So, yeah, I feel like that's probably why we haven't heard any formal names yet. I don't think it's going to be totally tied to that show.
Yeah, it would be unfortunate if they did tie everything to that show. I don't think that's how you need to go about things. Um, but we'll see. Let's switch gears here, man. There's some evidence, a couple of road course races of a certain something that's happening. Together for a long time, apart for a long time. What are you seeing that is separating him from the rest of the field? Is it any one thing in particular?
I mean, from a outside observation standpoint, it's hard. Like you look at it and see, okay, I mean, you know, he doesn't always have the quickest short run car. We even saw that a little bit at the Roval. We saw it a little bit in Mexico. And we definitely saw it at Coda early in the year where he actually, the one race he didn't win. He didn't have the best short run car. Like he could give you one quick lap. I mean, he is still an elite driver. And if he needs to drop a qualifying lap, he can still do that. But, the handful of, especially with the new tire that seems to have a little bit more fall off, which is probably actually beneficial for him in the long run. He's much more willing to be conservative with his lap time early. And we saw drivers like Kyle Larson, Chris Bell, and even to some extent AJ Allmendinger at the Roval kind of press him a little bit. And even he fell from first to third there in stage two. And I at that point I was like, oh, all right, this might be the race that he's off a little. And it didn't take long to completely flip that script. And within 8 to 10 laps, he not only had retaken the lead, but he had pulled away significantly. So, outside of just seeing the clear methodology and how he drives and how he has the ability to conserve tire better than everybody else, I wish I could see it. I wish I could say, oh, yeah, he's smoother into the corner, or he's not taking as sharp of a turn, right? Especially around the the 180-degree turn 7 at the Roval. You're like, maybe what is he doing different? It doesn't look like he's doing anything different from my eyes, but obviously it does one long term, and it's truly impressive to watch. And and I fully believe that the best of the best, Kyle Larson in particular, Tyler Reddick, Chris Bell, and of course our guy AJ, they're going to work. They're watching the footage. They're watching the SMT data. They're trying to figure out what he's doing different. And so far, at least through this year, they haven't figured it out. Even if they can see the trace of what he's doing different, they can't execute it on the racetrack. So it's quite impressive to see. And even if the other teams and cars and drivers close the gap going into next year, the gap is so big. I don't see a situation where he doesn't win 3 or 4 next year either.
I will guarantee you right now the gap is going to close. It's just the way NASCAR works. More time to go over the data. Some teams willing to spend even more money than Trackhouse. And then, whether anyone likes to admit it or not, loose lips sink ships. All it takes is one guy from Trackhouse who might have some data that the rest of the teams aren't looking at to leave Trackhouse, and then another team gets that data if he can remember it. And this happens all over the sport all the time. But then add into the fact, at least according to Dale Earnhardt Jr., it sounds like practice time next year is going to double on what it is right now. He mentioned that he believes the sessions aren't going to be 20 minutes next year, that they're going to be 45 minutes to an hour in the Cup Series. And if that happens, that is going to be a massive, massive change for all the teams involved. But make no mistake, if a team has an idea on what SVG is doing, having 45 minutes, not to say SVG can't use that hour to get better either, but the other teams are going to start finding ways to cut that gap. Does that mean SVG is not going to win a bunch? No, I just think if you're getting long green flag runs, which he's been blessed with this year at the end of races, he hasn't had to hold off a bunch of restarts. He did at Sonoma, I believe, but everywhere else he's been able to sort of cruise to victory at the end. I think the gap's going to get cut. I still expect him to win a few races. I mean, he's earned that level of respect this year. But I do believe the gap will shrink just for various circumstances.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it, but I mean, you're giving other teams more time to figure out their setup. But Shane isn't out there napping either, right? Like he's going to be turning laps. He's going to be making his setup better and honing in what he can do to save a tenth here, a tenth there, and it's a give and take. And I don't doubt that the other teams will start hitting on something that's going to help. And at the end of the day, I don't know how much setup is in it. Like, obviously, you have to have a setup to go fast. At the end of the day, even the best drivers on the planet won't win races if they don't have a car capable of winning races. But it just feels like what SVG's doing goes outside the realm of a setup, or you can dial in better tire wear, but then you might hurt yourself somewhere else, right? You're like, oh, okay, well, we're not burning as much tire, but now we're not getting as much grip off the corner, and then so you're gaining a little, but you're losing a little, and to me, it's all in the footwork. It's how he uses the brakes. It's how he's able to prevent wheel spin when he's coming off the corner and finding that grip. And obviously, I think the drivers are gifted enough, talented enough to figure it out, but it's going to be easier said than done. I think his dominance is going to run for several more years before anybody really gets close to him.
I thought on the short runs at the Roval, he was not clearly the most dominant driver. I thought that there was a group with him between himself, Kyle Larson, I'm forgetting the other name that was up there, Christopher Bell maybe, and AJ Allmendinger, were all able to really either stay with him, pass him even, or be within striking distance for about 7 or 8 laps,
6, 7 laps. Yeah.
and then they would fall off, and so would he, but their fall off was 3 or 4 times greater in an instant than his was.
Yeah, that to me is in driving technique and style more than setup, right? I mean, maybe it's a little bit of both, but um, it's and you're right. I've looking at Tori's comment here, it's he's so consistent. His lap time doesn't really change a ton. Obviously, tire wear will bring it down, but he's so consistent lap after lap after lap. It's just death by a thousand needles, and we see it. We saw it every race this season that he's had this opportunity. And again, like I'm kind of equating his struggle with ovals to the rest of the field is kind of the inverse at the road course. Like the field is struggling to keep up with whatever technique style he's developed in over his time as a V8 driver over his career. And I think as he closes the gap on the ovals, the best road course drivers will kind of close the gap on the roadies. But it's truly a marvelous thing, and even truly, like he is the best in the world, in my opinion, at this style of driving, at least with stock cars, because he dominated V8 too. Like those guys are the best at what they do, and he's a multi-time champion, he's got 40, 50 wins, if not more. He's unbeatable in this discipline, whatever series he's in. So, and while I do think NASCAR drivers are a bit more talented than V8 supercar drivers, which you could certainly have that debate outside of the realm of what we're doing here, I think that gap will close. But he in my eyes, he is just naturally better than everybody else at this style of racing, and that's okay. He's dominant, and there's nothing wrong with him being dominant.
He's also doing that in equipment that's not Penske, Gibbs, or Hendrick as well, which is impressive
I
in my
mean,
opinion.
I say it makes it all the more impressive, truly. Yeah. Because
For sure.
Trackhouse is no slouch, right? I mean, we can sit here and say they're not the best. They're certainly not, but they're not bad. But when you look at what they've done outside of the road courses, Ross, I won't say he lucked into his win at the Coke 600. He was very good that night. But they've been very mid-pack everywhere all season long, and there's a reason Ross got eliminated in the round of 12. They just didn't have the raw speed to be better than that. So it is an impressive thing to say, okay, this team at their best is a 10th to 12th place team, and yet SVG's out here wrecking the field on road courses.
Yeah, we'll have to watch with great interest to see if the field can close that gap as of next season and see how SVG continues to close the gap while getting ovals under his feet more. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all to keep up with all of our content we have here. We have bonus content available over on Patreon, patreon.com/Kaulig Nation. The link is in the description below. We appreciate all that each and every one of you do. As we enter the off season here, probably about a month from now, videos will still continue to come out. We're doing our best to get Ryan hooked up with NASCAR 25, and maybe we will be able to do some stuff. I haven't played it, so I can't sit here and tell you a damn thing about how good or not good it is. But I can tell you someone that I used to race with a lot, and I've raced with him on console and on iRacing, said that far and away the best NASCAR game they've had out since the EA Sports days. And I'm like, well, if they were able to do that, that's about the only win I'm looking for, because it's never going to truly compare to iRacing. There's too many restrictions and too many things that it doesn't offer that iRacing does. And it has some of the standard bugs you get when you first start playing a game, which is just every game nowadays. But I have to admit, dude, I've heard a lot of good things from a few people that have played the game. One in particular, whose word I really trust. It has me excited. I'm kid free, so maybe here in a couple hours I will turn it on and play something if I can get through some housework first. You got anything? We still got you or no?
Yeah, I looks like
Everything's
I think I may
rocking.
have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back. I think we're back. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I've seen the gameplay. I've seen a lot of people post up on X and on YouTube, even a few channels post some of their clips, and the racing and the AI dynamic looks really, really nice. You know, you're seeing, I think, pretty realistic behavior out of the cars. So I'm very impressed by that. Obviously, I haven't played the game, and um, I'm looking. I'm trying to find a unit. I don't own an Xbox X or a PlayStation 5, and
See,
I
that's
just
what
don't
I'm
play a
torn on
lot.
right
So
now. It's like what you end up getting is going to determine how often we do things. Because right now I have it for the Xbox. I had an Xbox gift card, so I was able to use that towards part of the purchase. Um, but I won't lie, it's way easier to stream to YouTube from PlayStation than it is Xbox. Like on like 10 times easier to stream. My thing was how many of the old guys I used to race with gonna pick the game back up and race on Xbox, and might we be able to do like a get together, yourself included, like once a month, and a dozen of us go out and race somewhere.
yeah, I wish it was cross platform because I'm sitting here on my computer. I would pay for it on my computer tomorrow and play cross platform if they allowed it. So I'm a little disappointed in that aspect. Um, yeah, I mean, I've always been an Xbox person. Um, Neither one of the Xbox nor the PlayStation are cheap. They're both basically $600 right now US, and that's still a lot to spend on a machine. So I hope I can swing it. I'm hoping maybe a good Black Friday special will come out, and I will go either way. Truthfully, I'm a little peeved with Xbox that they've upped their Game Pass to $30 a month from where it was. So that's kind of, I just canceled my Game Pass subscription because that's ridiculous. So I'll do it
I
any way I
can't. My
can if
kid,
I
my
can.
kids would have no games to play if I did that.
So yeah, as I said, I'm too casual of a player. If I played regularly, the Game Pass would probably be worth it even at that price point. But for the once or twice a month I turn it on, it's not worth that much. But I definitely want to play it. I'm super excited. I really enjoy what I've seen. So we'll see what the cards have as we get into the holiday season.
Do you have access to today's results by chance yet? Is practice and qualifying done?
The Xfinity qualifying just wrapped up, and Christian Eck is qualified sixth. I saw that.
Oh, nice.
So the cup cars haven't taken to the track yet. So they should be up soon, I would imagine. Let's see what the schedule says. I have NASCAR open in front of me. Allgaier won the pole. That's not super surprising. Yeah, I haven't seen the practice speeds yet, which is unfortunate. I was curious how Eckes would do. Obviously, AJ won this race last year in the Xfinity car. I'm assuming they would bring a very similar setup. Why mess with what you got works. That setup is basically won twice now. So, gosh, why is this being such a pain in the ass?
Man, that was a year ago, huh?
Yeah, a year ago.
That's wild.
Let's see. I don't know why the website's being dumb. I don't
I
know
don't
when
have the lap averages, but I can tell you that's Emmerich was 7th in practice, Dye 14th, and Eckes was 17th. And in qualifying, Eckes was 7th. And Dye 18th.
So I mean, basically, right where kind of right where they've been. I'll give Hemrick some flowers. He's been pretty good since hopping back in the 11 car. So again, I don't know what the future holds with him, and if he's going to be back in the fold at Kaulig or not. But I would not be opposed to a Hemrick reunion, just not at the Cup level. I would let him drive a truck.
Agreed.
I'd let him drive an Xfinity car. He's solid in those situations. But so I hope that can be put together. But yeah, so there you go. Solid, kind of predictable performance for the Xfinity cars, and Cup practice starts in about 10, 15 minutes. So
sounds like a good place to wrap up then. If anyone's Canadian out there, happy Thanksgiving Day or happy Thanksgiving weekend. It is Thanksgiving up here. And just apologize. We apologize for the lack of content the last few weeks. We are trying, and I don't know if you'll ever see us again at the rate we were like this year, anyways, where we're putting out 5 videos a week. Probably not likely at this point until next season begins. But you'll see a couple videos from us here and there, and our Patreon stuff going out, and the podcasts going out. And there's still some interesting NASCAR things to wrap up here. But for Ryan, I'm Sean, and we will see each and every one of you in the next